Okay. Okay. Well. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, I'm Crimson Skies. Welcome back to another sort of utility slash tactics, silver theory video, I guess, for the Discord. Hello. So this time, it's going to be ancient. We did way better on ancient, but there was some things specifically on T side that I kind of want to maybe have us do every single round almost, if we can afford it, of course. In particular, due to the B rush, because we got crushed on B. Every time they rushed it, it almost felt like we lost, right? So, as CT, right, ideally, we would have, okay, well, that's not what I particularly wanted, but on the map, in my mind, we would have a headshot player. I call this headshot. I don't know what this is called. Fucking A default. I'm not sure. Headshot. I call it headshot just because when you look, the only thing you see is head. Right? Headshot. One headshot spot. We'd have one short player or cave player. We'd have one cave player, one headshot player, one mid red room player, one donut player, and then one A player. Right? We're gonna go over kind of my concepts on what I think each role should be doing, starting with what our long player will be doing, and then the early util specifically to stop the B rush, right? Because that was kind of the thing that was really hurting us was the B rush. Every time they rush it, it kind of felt like our team would almost instantly die. So what I did was you would need a grenade and a molly, both for cave and for headshot, right? What I call long, I think, whatever, our long player. When our long player comes up, he goes against a wall, he lines up like this, he throws, and then he would throw. This would effectively hit anyone rushing B. They would come into the molly. Hopefully they don't rush through the molly, but if they do, it hurts them, right? This would effectively stop it. If they choose to maybe drop a smoke so they can keep the rush going, that literally just works in our favor because now they're running through a smoke. I think this is the best way to try and stop the B ramp rush, which our long player would be responsible for, right? I think in terms of early utility, which should always be used pretty much every single round, not thrown. Don't throw it. Please don't throw it. I accidentally did. I accidentally threw it. That's a smoke. That's not what I wanted either. I'm kind of tripping right now. My bad. It's been a long day for me. Okay? I'm tripping right now. There'll be a molly and a grenade, and then if you so desired, you would throw a smoke. Now, obviously, this is a little sloppy. It's a little sloppy. It would take a little bit of practice, of course, but I think that's a good thing we can do for long to try and stop that rush from B ramp. Now, our cave player has something to try and stop the cave ramp, right? Which would require a molly and a grenade. This is a little more tricky to accomplish because the timings for it is really important. But you basically come up with a molly. You'd want to aim at this tree. So as you're running, you want to aim it, and you would throw basically as you're passing that object like this. And as you'll see, it's really tricky because if you don't do it right, it blows up, right? It's really tricky, which is why this absolutely takes practice. But if you can throw it proper, come on, dude, this was the one I was practicing before recording. I finally thought I had it consistently, and now it's not working. So the angle in which you want to throw it will be like right here. Lower mid in between the two trees. I'm not getting it right, of course, because why would I? There we go. So you throw this molly to try and catch the cave players, and then you want to combo it with a grenade. So it should look like something like this. Okay, I just needed to make sure I threw that wrong too, didn't I? There we go. So it would look like that. So the cave player would rush up, he'd run through the molly, he'd be like, oh, it's a molly, whatever, and then he'd get hit with a grenade, slows his movement, and he would effectively die if they wanted to rush. Now, this is extremely timing dependent, because if they get a really good spawn, they can actually beat the molly and still get in the cave, but this would at least deter everybody else from running through it. Okay, so you'd still only be maybe fighting one cave player, right? One cave rusher. Because once again, if you had your long player doing the ramp and grenade, and then you had your cave player doing this, you would effectively stop any type of aggression or rush, giving the CT player ample time to kind of get into outer if they want to. They can take control of cave and kind of limit their ability to rotate however they want. Because in Ancient, I feel map control is super important, you know, and kind of giving CTs time to at least settle. Because like I said, every time it almost felt like a B rush happened, it would instantaneously collapse. So I feel the mauling the grenade on both sides would be really good. Our mid player, which is the way I tend to play mid on CT. So of course this is just my bias because I didn't really need to change the way I played on the match. Before, if we decide I'm not the mid player, maybe I'm the A player, I'm one of the B players, right? For our mid player, what they would do is they would throw this molly. They'd wait a second, I'll have a main gun. So they'd wait a second, wait for the push. If there's no push, they would then throw a flashbang, get into cubby. If they manage to kind of take control of cubby with no problems, they would throw this smoke, wait for smoke to pop, and now they got total control of mid, right? This is kind of the purpose of, in my mind, what the mid player is. Take control of mid, and then they're just listening for movement in cave, right? They're just listening for movement in cave. That's basically what I kind of want our mid player to do. Our donut player would come up this way. He comes up. He goes up in donut. His job is to initially help with any rushing that they run through the molly. He should be able to hear the burning. Same as him, he'd see it. So you guys would tag team. Let's say they don't. He pushes up in a cubby. You would then smoke cave. And you're just here to help maintain kind of like cave mid to cave control while also listening for anything happening on A site, right? Or A main. That's my concept of what our donut player would be doing, right? Is supporting mid control while also listening for anything from A main. Our A side player would come in, he'd throw this. He can play however he wants. I like to play up here to get an off angle and then just wait for the push. Right? Now, that is how I envision us stopping any aggression, any rushes happening. You know, maybe he hears movement so that you can throw a molly to try and stop any aggression from them pushing through smoke. That's kind of my concept for the early CT side, because once again, the rounds happened pretty quick, and every time they pushed B, it really felt like we struggled sometimes. So I feel that mauling grenade was mainly my main focus on the CT side for both the cave player and the long player. And it's just kind of what I would like our other players to be doing, right? Trying to get map control, trying to get intel, listening for footsteps so that we can make proper decisions after we stop the rush, right? On Ancient, because it was the rushes that really fucked us. Whenever they slowed down, we were able to piece them apart, but every time they tried to rush, it really hurt us. So that's kind of how I envision CT side. Obviously, you know, we can adjust and adapt. Maybe we have 3B, but that's just a concept, right? It's just a concept, a theory. Now let's get to the T side util, and kind of what I'd like our T side to be, because once again, I feel it's the same thing on T side. Map control is super important for me. So I'm going to demonstrate all of the util use in a concept of a 1-1-3 or play, or maybe a 3-1-1 or a 1-3-1. But realistically, we would have an A side specialist, a mid specialist, and a B side specialist. Okay, and then we would have the bomb carrier and then the +1 kind of going wherever we actually want to attack, to kind of actually use that execute util and stuff like that. So we're gonna start with basically center, if we choose to do it. Very basic. I think this is the most standard smokes we can ever throw. I think everyone knows these smokes. The standard red room smoke. We have the standard donut smoke, and if we wanted to smoke cave, you can smoke cave from here. Super basic. If we wanted to try and take mid control, we can do this. Extremely easy stuff. That's just kind of the mid stuff. I don't know any instant smokes I kind of rely on the more reliable stuff or stuff we can kind of plan or execute. So this is what I got, right? These are the smokes. If you don't know them, here's some really basic, easy ones. And like I said, these are super, super forgiving. They're super reliable. You can't really mess these up unless you're just actually aiming in the wrong spots. Very basic. Okay, now we're going to go mids because mid is one of my favorite things. Okay, because once again, in my mind, we would have a player each site until we choose to commit. And then what we can do is, let's say we want to do A, our B player and our B player and our mid player can throw util for a fake execute before the B player would then run up to A. Mid would obviously hold for the rotate, and then they would actually execute on that site. The reason why I like mid and why I think this is one of the most important roles, obviously, to stop the rotations, you obviously want map control, you obviously want to kind of take mid to limit what the CTs can do. But let's say we want to do a fake A, right? So our A player can throw a donut smoke, and then our mid player can throw a CT smoke. Once again, this is probably one of the most lenient grenades you could ever fucking throw in your life on any map. You literally, there's like almost no accuracy needed as long as you stand on this corner. This entire section here, you can pretty much put anywhere on your crosshair. Try to just keep it in the center, of course. Don't risk it, right? And it will land CT. Okay? It will land CT. Let's say we manage to actually kind of push out. There's not a lot of pressure, and you can get up to here, right? You're still not exposed to red. You're still not exposed to donut. And we are planning an A execute, right? So now they want to go A. The B player can throw a pillar smoke. I'll explain what the pillar smoke is when we get over there. And then your mid player can throw the long smoke. How can you do it? On the upper of the center here, the square. You aim on the top. Oh, fuck, that fucked up. No, I didn't do it right. I didn't push the right key. That's not what I wanted. Close enough, but it's not what I wanted. Actually, what you would do is you aim there and it'd be a W jump throw. Which would land right there, doing a better job actually smoking off long. And then once again, the B player can throw the pillar smoke, which would land over here, and then he can probably throw the cubby molly to do a fake execute before he would retreat, and then kind of group up with the team for the actual A execute, right? Once again, this is kind of the concept and what I really want our T side to be on Ancient. Kind of maintain that pressure across the map. Keep the CTs from like over rotating or feeling like that they know what we're doing, and then we would do these fake executes and real executes almost like at the exact same time to kind of once again keep them from over rotating. And mid can literally support both sites from his position, right? So he only needs to know two smoke. He only needs to know these two smokes, and then he can just fight for mid control. Okay, that's basically the mid's job. Fight for mid control, prevent any rotations, and then throw the support util to the sites we're planning on faking. Okay, now let's work A since A is closer. Our A site player has a few smokes that we could do for an execute. Once again, I like doing easy, consistent ones. So you just throw here for the donut smoke, and then you throw here for the CT smoke. Donut smoke covers the whole thing, and then of course you get the CT smoke. And then what we can do, now of course this isn't the whole execute, I'm obviously breaking it down piece by piece, but there's a really insane flash you can throw up here just by W keying. I'll show you real quick just how powerful this thing is. It's actually kind of nutty. So once again, my favorite position is up here. I like to play on A. You're cooked. You're cooked beyond fucking belief. Someone plays here, cooked beyond belief. Someone plays over here, right? They're cooked. Plays over here, they're cooked. Obviously, right? You get the point. Everyone's cooked. This thing literally flashes everyone on site. I think this guy's safe. I don't think he's exposed to it. No, not really. And of course, anyone playing Donut is clearly safe from it too. Anybody in that position though gets cooked. So I think it's really a really strong flash. The only other util we would use for an A site execution, they generally would smoke this spot. So it'd be the same concept as what we did with, although I didn't actually come up with a concept, right? Is you'd aim here, and you just throw. This molly's boost. Completely molly's boost, right? So if we threw the donut smoke, the CT smoke, and then we threw the molly, and then we flashed, this guy would be out of position. This person's flashed, so he's cooked, right? This guy would probably back off, just because of all of the chaos going on, or he'd straighten out. Who knows? But this should make taking a site super super easy. This should make taking a site super super easy if we did something like that. Now, I mean, if we really needed to do something like what I did before, okay, it's kind of basic. You just kind of line up here. Let me just make sure it's a proper one. Not proper. Okay, that's proper. Let's say we back off, and then we want to... there's nothing really to... Just eyeball it, I guess, right? Just eyeball it. Or we could rely on this crack, right? There. Up against the wall. Throw the molly. Down. Okay, so one of my smoke I generally do when I play A site is fairly deep, right? Comes up, throws it like this, and then we go like this. Let me see if there's anything I can do. Oh, that's some fucked up smoke. Do I really throw that smoke? Yeah, I guess so. Okay. Well, whatever. No matter what type of smoke they throw, you should be able to at least see that corner. You can line up the corner. Line up the corner. Line up here. Throw it. Still. Well, nonetheless, all right, we can practice it. I'm just saying, I like this molly and molly's boost. That's all I care about, right? Let's not look at the failures. But that would be how the execute would look, right? That would be how the execute. You would have a person up front. He's making sure no one's peeking or pushing sight. You would throw the donut smoke. We would have someone throw the donut smoke. We would have someone throw the CT smoke as he's running up. He's also throwing the flash because everybody else should be on site. I fucked the flash up. Don't worry about that. Throwing the molly. The flash goes out. We all push, right? So this is how it would look. I think would really make executing a site easier. So realistically, the only thing we need to pay attention to would be maybe the tempo player. But even then, we could have a second player with just a molly and throwing a super easy molly, right? That doesn't need a real lineup. You can just throw it from pretty anywhere. But that should make executing a site super fucking easy with just the 3 people. Like I said, mid is always going to probably just hold mid. The other site, after they do the fake execute, would run over here. Now we're going to go to what is probably my favorite stuff, okay? Because let me kind of showcase the standard smokes that a lot of people use in my pugs. You throw it here, and then you throw it here. So these are generally the standard smokes people throw, at least in all my games. You know, they're not bad, right? Cuts off short, cuts off, long. But you still have to worry about this headshot position, right? You still have to worry about the person hiding here. There's probably a CT player, the cave player, using pillar, right? And they can kind of they can fight this. This isn't great. Now, obviously, there is a molly we could throw to combine with it. I think it's right there. I might have it wrong. No, that's it. It's a molly pillar. That way you'd have the smokes and then pillar, and then you can just kind of come on site. I'm still not a fan of it because I feel like there's still too many angles we'd have to worry about. Okay, so this is why it took me so long, by the way. This is why I spent 6 hours on fucking Thursday looking at. And the worst part is the map I did it on was an older version of the map because this brick used to have collision, so you used to be able to just get stuck on it. Now you just have to kind of rely on the fact that you know which spot you're standing in front of. But these are the smokes I like to throw. Okay? These are the smokes that I kind of found I like to throw. I didn't even look at a video. I was literally just throwing for hours here. But there's sort of a, let me show. There's sort of a crack right there, a crack on that line, right? So when you line up, I don't have a primary weapon. It's pissing me off. But when you line up, once again, it's really forgiving, fortunately. I like easy smokes. You line up on that broken spot. You throw it. This smoke smokes pillar. Okay? And as you can see, the smoke comes all the way out of pillar. So if someone wants to actually peek us from pillar, look at how exposed they are. They're cooked. They might get one kill, but we should easily trade them, right? Cooked. This side, someone might go, oh, well, look, it's like a funnel. They can just come right around. They can fight us. Well, let me show you the whole execute real quick, okay? So I'm going to throw both of my smokes now. I'm going to show you what the site looks like with both of my smokes that I found. So we have the pillar smoke, and then we have my headshot smoke. Well, I'll be damned. The only spot we have to worry about now is there. But oh my god, what about this? Well, we have a molly for this too. We can have our person throwing the smokes on the site, and then we have our cave player, maybe our main specialist here, coming here. This is a bit tricky. This actually takes practice. You have to line up right here, and it mollies cubby. So if we do all of this together, I'm going to throw these smokes again so I can showcase what the whole execute would look like. If we wanted to do an A execute, we have a smoke there, we have a smoke here, and then you come over. Once again, we'd have a player here, which would probably be our main player, where the two... He'd get this molly lineup. And now, all of a sudden, there's no CTs able to hide in cubby. He might push up close, so we focus close, and the only position we have to look at is here. It becomes a firing squad, right? They can't peek because of molly. We can run up safely and get the plant. If they choose to rush out, they're rushing out all the way out to like right here, so a player can just shoot them. And the only spot they have is that one funnel we created for them, where we can also shoot them if they actually decide to peek it, right? It completely takes the sight away from CT players. Completely takes it away from CT players, which is why I like it. Now, that would be the B execute. For our specialist on site, right, our main B player, he would probably want to fight for cave, get cave control, kind of do that. How would we do that? Well, there's a really easy molly we can throw. I'm going to stand still real quick for us so you guys can see. But it's this line right here, right? Super easy to see. You come up, you look for it, bam, W jump through. Very easy to throw, very reliable. You can almost always guarantee it hits. Completely mollies that spot. And you can do it while running. We'll see if I can do it while running. Okay, we'll see if I can do it while running. But it's really basic. Okay? So you come up. I hit the wall. My god. Okay, well still. Nonetheless, it takes practice, right? It takes practice. Okay? But it's really easy to do. You can combo this with maybe a self flash into sight. That way you can actually take, if anyone actually decides to run through, they get pop flashed and then you can kill them. Let's say you want to push deeper into sight. You line up right here. You do a jump. You run up. Bam. This would flash anybody staring down from here, right? You kill them. You do a pre-check for this defensive position, and then you do a pre-check for this defensive. Now you got this map, right? Now you got cave control. Okay? So ideally what would happen for the execute is your cave player, your main B player, would come here and get ready for the executes. They throw the smokes, he throws a molly, you guys all group up, you guys run up, or he plays cave. Doesn't matter, how we decide to do it. Obviously, these are just kind of rough concepts of what we could do, but that is all of the util, I think. How long have I been recording? I think that's everything, right? And once again, right, your mid player can throw that long smoke. So if you guys ever wanted to do a fake, he could just come here and then he can just throw pillar smoke. He throws a long smoke. You maybe want to come up and then throw the molly. Maybe you want to come up and throw the molly. That's going to miss, actually. I was aiming too high. No, it didn't. Okay. And bam, you got that fake. You got the fake execute, and then you can just fuck off and go off to the other side as your three players are executing a site, right? So that's the idea behind it. This is kind of how this is all the util I kind of learned for this. I was having a lot of fun with Ancient, which is why we have a lot more. I even have like some smokes we could do if we ever have smokes at CT and we're retaking site. If you have two smokes, you can come here, and then you can see the window, right? You come here, you try to line up for the window, you do a jump throw, aim at the top of the mountain, you do a jump throw, and if you have a molly, aim at this dark spot, running jump throw, and we can smoke out CT, we can smoke out Donut, and we can molly boost. I don't know if this is really important. I don't know if CT, I've never seen terrorists actually take boost after taking site just because you're a little exposed on the CT side. I guess it could catch people off guard. But if we ever have it and we do need a retake, I think this could be really good if we can just kind of push them off temple, be able to get our guy in the corner, and then throw these. But that is kind of it. I went over my concept of what I'd like us to do for CTs. I went over the concept of on how I'd like us to play Ts. Okay. Once again, the idea for our specialized players, right, our site specialists, is not to just rush out site. It's to maybe sit here and hold, make sure they don't push so that we maintain control of this section of the map. Maybe have him run around to make noise. If we want to actually execute the other site, he can run around and make noise. And then he can throw his donut smoke. The mid player can throw the CT smoke. He would come up. He would handle the flash. And if there's still a smoke here, he could just come up and he could throw a molly for the boost. That way it looks like we're doing the execute, and then he would immediately fuck right off and go to the other side while they're executing that site, and this guy's just holding, waiting to see what happens, right? That's kind of what I want. I think that's how I'd like us to play our T side, is where we just maintain map control, but we have the capability of literally executing anywhere on the site. As long as we learn these utils, they're very easy. And I think that's why I like all this stuff. I found very easy lineups, very consistent lineups. Obviously, I need to practice that cave molly a little bit more, but I think everything else is just super easy to do. Takes away a lot. I think this would really help us on our T side. That way we have kind of that fluidity to kind of go wherever we want. But that's it for me. That's our CT side and our T side. That's all the util I kind of wanted to show for the team. If anyone has anything else or has other concepts on how they'd like to play this, feel free to let me know, Once again, this is just my thoughts, the lineups I learned, and maybe the lineups we can use to allow us to be able to get more successful executes on our T side, and to be able to stop the rushes on CT, because that was really hurting us too. But that's it for me. So peace out, guys. Peace out. Peace, peace, peace. Peace, peace.